Hello guys, this is Modest Major here, bringing you some commentary over some Halo 5 Guardians gameplay. The score in the background is not too important today. As usual, I've been playing with a full team of, say, semi-pros or Onyx Division players, and we've been getting some pretty tough matches from time to time. A lot of call-outs, a lot of entertaining, close, nail-biting games, and I don't think it would be a legitimate portrayal of my experience if I just posted you some random pub-stomping experience, because for the most part that isn't what I've been playing. I've been playing games where we've had to have our heads screwed on, and we've had to be calling out the entire match, and that's really enjoyable because in terms of Halo 4 gameplay, that was never really the way I approached that game, and whilst I managed to find fun in Halo 4 in its own way, the way I really approached Halo 4 was trying to sniff out as many noobs as I could, and that was fun, but you get a bit of a balance in this game, and it's nice to actually be invested in the gameplay that I'm playing at hand, and that's kind of the topic I want to discuss today, is investment in your games, and the ways in which you can accentuate that. Now, in terms of the actual, the gunplay and the core shooter mechanics, I think if you brought a hardcore audience in front of, say, a group of developers and said, "Hey, I want you to explain to these developers what it is you think is the ideal way of approaching developing the shooter mechanics in developing the gunplay," for the most part, there would be some obvious, large differences in opinion from time to time. But I feel like the core underlying issue would be, especially looking back at the last 6 years of gaming or 7 years of gaming, one of the key issues that would constantly crop up is, less is more. And I think that's something we've seen since, the early days, since Call of Duty came into fruition, basically, and the console market started to shift into something different, constantly adding loadouts, constantly adding perks. We saw that infect games like Halo 4, we saw that infect games like Battlefield. Games in general, they had this idea of injecting more content into the game, meant for a more complete experience, whereas over time I feel like we've learned that not to necessarily be true. And I feel like, obviously, one of the biggest things that comes up in gaming recently, this hot button topic, is, how are we going to innovate our games without necessarily changing the fundamental gunplay? Because for me, Halo 5 Guardians is actually a pretty simple game when it comes down to it. Yes, there are these new movement abilities, but you don't have unequal starts. You don't have this long list of weapons that you choose from, and this long list of perks and ordnance, and there's just less complications. And the abilities that they have added in, it seems like they haven't added so many, but it seems like they've done a better job of trying to hone those abilities and trying to make them flow with the gameplay a little bit better, and I think for the most part they have succeeded in that goal. But what I want to counter today is the idea that you can't innovate your game and you can't make your own mark on a game as the developer without injecting this bunch of content, without completely stirring the pot and throwing something new at you and trying to overload you with new stuff. Because in my play experience with Halo 5, for the most part, I've really enjoyed it. And in terms of gunplay, it's one of my favorite shooters I've played in possibly the last 6 years. Now, I know it's very premature to say this, and this could change over time, but that's just natural first impressions. Right off the bat, I'm like, this gunplay feels solid. I'm not loving Halo 5 out of a love for the new gimmicks and for the flashy stuff, except maybe ground pound, because that stuff is absolutely awesome, but more for the fact that the majority of encounters that ensue on a game-to-game basis, they seem to be extremely satisfying if you win, and they seem to be they teach you a lot if you lose, rather than make you frustrated, rather than exercise, your patience and test your patience. And yeah, it just seems to make sense when I lose, more so than games have in the last couple of years. But the problem I do have is the idea of longevity in terms of unlocks, in terms of customization. And I know this is very early days, and I know this is a beta, and this is just a small window into the game. But the small window that I'm seeing into, I don't think I like necessarily the vision of what they're going for. You've got stuff like the end of game victory session where everyone gives each other a high five. You've got stuff like armor unlocks, similar to what you saw in Halo 4, but outside of that, it doesn't stretch very far. When I look at the older games like Halo 3, some of my favorite games, Halo 3, maybe a bit of World of Warcraft on the side, maybe a bit of Diablo 2. when I look back at these games, when I look back at Halo 3, I'd love to tell you that my fondest memories of Halo 3 was outshooting some guy because of the low auto aim, because of the high skill gap, because of leading my shots, and having some satisfying win. But really, when it comes down to it, it's stuff like my trophy case. It's my trophy case of unlocks from my Brigadier rank, from my 46 in Lone Wolves, from my Hayabusa armor, you know, and it's kind of the same in World of Warcraft. Now, I'm not exactly a heavy World of Warcraft player, but the people who subscribe in World of Warcraft, the people who come back from day one vanilla World of Warcraft, and they seem to come back in Cataclysm beta, and you see all these people just pouring countless money. There's a reason they're doing that, because they have a legacy there. They have been immortalized in the World of Warcraft, and there's probably no game that has done it quite as well as that. And they come back because they know they've got that investment in that character. They know they have that hero that they poured hours and hours into, and they're welcomed back like a champion. You know, the achievements that they have there, the trophy cabinet that they have there, is more important than any story you could ever tell. When you try to explain to someone, you know, some great moment that you had, it never quite sounds as good as what it was. And these achievements and these you know, this leaderboards, these ranks, and all the different stuff that is put into the game really helps put that into a picture. It makes a picture of what you've achieved during that game and gives you kind of an idea, a vision of what that player has been through. When I go onto Halo 3 and I see my stat screen, I think of all the memories I have and, you know, the countless hours I put into that game, and it serves as a valuable monument, and I never want that to leave. And it's one of my favorite things going back onto Halo 3, and I think there's ways in which they could put stuff into the game to further cement this. You know, I'm in the pro bracket right now, and the only thing I've really got to show for it is my pro rank. And, you know, like I said in Halo 3, it was very nice having the Brigadier rank, but I feel like we've moved on a little bit, and there's ways to accentuate your play. There's ways to make you feel like you've earned something during your game. You know, the way in which the Halo 5 gameplay is actually built, in terms of, you know, compared to previous games, with stuff like the ceaseless medals and the commentator having a bit of a goofy voice and just announcing everything that you're doing. When I first started playing, I kind of thought it was corny, and I kind of thought they were turning their back on the old school roots of Halo, and I couldn't necessarily place my finger on why that was. And it became apparent to me after a little while of playing that this style of play was actually really fun. You know, it constantly props you up, and it constantly keeps your adrenaline going, and it constantly keeps your momentum going when you're on for that win. And you hear this commentator going, "Perfect kill." And it's kind of corny, it's kind of cheesy, it's kind of ridiculous, and it doesn't have that core Halo theme where it was like, it felt like the commentator was speaking into a cavern almost, and everything felt very pronounced and kind of liberal. Like, I'm going to say this, when I finished a Halo game, you know, of Halo 3, and I went off, and I went insane, sometimes I felt like the game itself was giving me a slow golf clap, rather than in Halo 5 when it kind of props you up and makes you feel like a badass. And although Halo 5 has taken steps in the right direction in terms of on a game-to-game basis, I feel like there's some things that feel a little bit scripted, and over time it goes back to that slow golf clap. You know, when I see these countless animations of our guys high-fiving each other and say, "Yo, good game, blah blah blah," you know, it's always the same, and I'm already a little bit restless of it, and it's only the beta. That sort of stuff should be exciting me. And what I was really thinking is, you know, perhaps when you go up divisions, when you go up ranks, they give you more unlocks for these kind of things, more victory animations, stuff like, you know, playing the air guitar when you've won, stuff like, you know, like doing pull-ups in the gym, or doing press-ups, just to pretty much swag on your opponents and say, "Look what we just did to you, we're just flexing right now." And just give you countless animations. Another thing I was thinking of in terms of Spartan chatter is that a lot of people say that it can be kind of repetitive, it can be kind of incessant. What about when you got to higher ranks, you unlock these like specific communications that you could map to your D-pad, and let's say there were like 100 plus of them, and you map these to the D-pad, and you can say like kind of ridiculous stuff like, you just beat the tar out of him, you just beat the crap out of him, but you can't spam it too much obviously, because people would just be like, you just beat the, you just beat the, you just beat the. But let's say there was like a cooldown on it and you unlock these, but you only unlock them if you were in, say, a higher division. Now I feel like if you go down to a lower division, you lose these perks, you lose these certain things that like enhance your game, that accentuate your game and instantly make you distinguishable from the other players on the map. I also want something like a pro insignia that's very, very apparent, let's say on your chest armor, and you put it on and it's like, hey, you know, and let's say there's a selection, there's variants, so you're not just every single pro is bog standard, but there's different kinds of pro emblems, and you just pick the one you want, and you're like instantly identifiable from the other players. That's the sort of stuff I really, really want from the Halo game right now, because I kind of want it to feel like when I get back on Halo 5, my reward for being pro is kind of like I'm in this VIP lounge. I've got all these different awards that I can unlock. I've got this constant stream of unlocks, armor unlocks, customization coming my way, and I feel like I've got something to lose if I lose my pro bracket. Do you know what I lose if I lose my pro bracket at this point in time? I get a couple of easier lobbies now and then. And really, you know, when it comes down to it, as much as I love the respect of being a pro, and as much as I love people saying in a random lobby, oh my god, they've got a pro on the enemy team, this is going to be tough, and they're trying their hardest, I want to enhance that, and I want people to have something to fight for. And you know, when they're getting salty over the game, when they're losing their cool, they think to themselves, yeah, but you know, I want to beat that guy, you know, that guy really annoys me, he's got all those pro unlocks and I'm sat here in silver, and I don't have much to say for myself right now. All I've got is the high five animation. All I can say is good job, but I can't say, oh my god, you just got beasted on, boys, or something like that. And I want to enhance that play. And, you know, if it's... The funny thing is, this game, teamwork and team communication is more so rewarded than in any other Halo game I've played since maybe Combat Evolved. You have to stick to your team. You have to stay close to them. And stuff like emotes, like high-fiving your teammate, like saying, wow, you just wrecked him, would really enhance that feeling and make you want to stick to your teammates and, you know, build that unity between you and your squad. And that's the kind of stuff I'm looking for out of Halo. You know, I want to build a legacy in Halo 5. I want to have something where I can instantly show a player. I don't have to tell him this long story. I don't have to try and make it sound cooler than it was. I say, look at my player and look what I've been through. This has been one hell of an adventure, and you've got to go on it yourself. Anyway, I've been Modest Major. Hope you guys enjoyed the commentary. Peace out.